what I know is that you're sitting on some really fun information. Can you share anything about like what's been selling during this pandemic?
Yes. And I'm going to do a plug.
You got your perspective. I just want to be happy. Don't you want to be happy?
So we've got our last guest for today, Deena Bahri. Deena serves as StockX CMO, a Detroit-based online resale marketplace. Deena has demonstrated a history of building beloved consumer brands, having served as a CMO for 3 other companies, including Birchbox. We're super excited to have you, Deena.
Deena, how are you?
Hello, great to see you all. It was just
Great to see you.
Together on our happy hour.
Yes, that's right. Well, let's get right into the thing I'm actually curious about. You've got a really epic background. What's on those shelves? Anything interesting? Anything?
My gosh.
Anything I can flip on eBay?
You would not believe how much commentary these bookshelves get. The big joke is this was actually meant to be my husband. We moved to Detroit when I accepted this job, right? So we're 6 months, 7 months into living in Michigan, moved from California, and we set up this office because my husband runs his own business and works from home. And it took me about 4 weeks to take over the office and the bookshelf. There's everything in here from, philosophy and yoga books to, there's a book called Cabin Porn right behind me. And then all kinds of fiction from all stages of our lives. But this is the ultimate conversation piece right here.
How do you consider yourself, how do you view yourself as a leader? Since that's kind of the ethos of this, and like all of us, we've all evolved and gotten better. What has been the biggest thing that you've closed the gap on in your career that you're just like happy? You're like, wow, I'm really glad I got better at this, because had I not, I don't think I could be the leader I am today.
Yeah. Well, I think there's 2 things. And one of them, I'm going to echo what Lockie said just a little while ago, the idea of being a thinker that can combine left and right parts of the brain. I think in marketing in particular, that is a very valuable skill and hard to find. So I think that is something that I would say describes my style, holistic thinker, and somebody who likes to synthesize and integrate. And then I think the other thing is just being empathetic, being a very holistic person in the sense of look,
Deena, you're back. I think you're back.
I'm back.
Go ahead.
Great. Sorry about that.
No worries.
Okay. So I'll just backtrack a little bit. The idea, I was talking about the idea of left and right brain thinking coming together and being an integrative thinker. And then being somebody who really appreciates and values the whole self being brought to work. And I show up that way. I want my team to show up that way. And I think as leaders today, especially in this climate, it's so critically important. And showing your team that that's what you believe in, that's what you support from them, helps to bring out the best, the most creativity, the best results, and the most present and committed work.
What has really been the biggest observation you've had about being a leader during COVID? Because obviously some of us are fortunate enough. It's funny how I just said that. It was like a little bit of a slip. I was going to say fortunate enough to navigate through the Great Recession or 9/11 or things of that nature. Those are not fortunate things, but I definitely felt that we were in a 10-year window where a lot of people were already at 32 years old in their career and had never been through anything but hyper growth. And I was like, man, one day this is going to hit. And so here we are. Thoughts on that?
Yeah, totally. I'm a huge believer in the fact that the failures or the missteps or even the things that are outside of your control, like macro events, the challenges make you better. And, having lived through the Great Recession, 9/11, even having joined a startup that was a total bust, and literally went out of business, those things I think make us more resilient, more adaptable, more creative. And I think those are critical skills in COVID-19, marketing and business. So, when I think about showing up for my team at StockX, the leadership team spends a lot of time making sure that we are keeping people together, keeping them connected. A lot of people are lonely, isolated, confused, all the negative feelings. And, work can play a role in combating that, and leadership and teams can play a role in combating that. So that's, I think, one really important thread for our company and for me personally is just being there for my team. I think secondly is encouraging the adaptability, the growth mindset. Again, it's a basic survival skill, right? You got to be able to land on your feet when unforeseen circumstances present themselves. And in marketing in particular, there are some very new real constraints. If you think about experiential marketing, content, these are areas that really have relied on the in real life experiences to create what they create. And suddenly those avenues are cut off. And so it's only the people who are open-minded, flexible, willing to adapt that can not only survive, but I think actually come up with better ideas. Our team has come up with new ways of working in this environment that I think we're going to bring with us into the future, into the normal, when we return to normal. Thinking more creatively about how to generate content in a scalable way that reaches more people, taking events that might have been activated in real life and bringing them to a digital forum so that more people can participate. Like, these are really valuable skills. So I think teams that are focused on being adaptable can actually grow through this.
So I've had the great fortune of knowing Josh very early on. Literally, one of the great misses of my entrepreneurial investing career was not investing in StockX early on around things that I love, like flipping and sneakers and now sports cards, which, has super got me fired up.
Yeah.
What I know is that you're sitting on some really fun information. Can you share anything about like what's been selling during this pandemic?
Yes. And I'm going to do a plug. Because we just published a mid-year report, which is like a gold mine of fun facts, but it's called the StockX Snapshot. It's our market movers, and we talk about things that
Andrea, I need that immediately, Andrea, please. That should be in my inbox right now. Like, Amy, get on this. I need that now. Go ahead.
So, some fun facts, and I'm going to cheat and refer to it, but, puzzles up almost 600%. Slides, because who's going outside anymore, right? So up almost 400%. Masks, obviously up 300%. Slippers, again, a big mover, track pants, like all the stuff that we are wearing every day, right? And then I think the other thing that we've seen is a resurgence of what you might call classic silhouettes and sneaker. Like, I think this is a time when people are maybe hesitant to splurge on that really luxury item that may or may not have enduring value, but the classic silhouettes that have been relevant for 20 years that people are spending.
Plus, for the people that don't collect and flip, who actually wear these incredible, just the dominance you have with sneakers. Look, let's call a spade for a lot of human beings. Flexing with that impossible to get pair of off-whites when you go courtside to an NBA game is very much in the culture of this. And if you're not doing that, maybe you don't need to do that right this minute.
100%. And I think the other thing is, The Last Dance, like that has been an amazing influence in our world. And it's this beautiful convergence, right?
Because I think a lot of people, we have such a diverse group, obviously you and I can talk about this all day. Explain even The Last Dance, what that is and how. Sure.
So The Last Dance is this amazing documentary about Michael Jordan and the Bulls and their attempt to win their final championship, NBA championship. And it really talks about the team, it talks about Michael Jordan, and it talks about his brand as well. And in sneakers, his brand is a force, like potentially the biggest force to be reckoned with. And what we've seen, actually HBO pulled the release date up. It was meant to be released later on. And then when COVID came along and sports were canceled, I think they saw a big window. Again, sign of adaptability. So they released this early. And it was at a time when there was nothing to watch on TV for a sports fan. And so it was just brilliant timing. And it was actually brilliant marketing for StockX. We were not involved. I keep saying that would have been a dream relationship, dream partnership. But it still had this incredible effect of reintroducing people to Jordan brand shoes. And we've had some of our best ever days actually during this period, which is sort of hard to believe. You never would have predicted that, right? In April, when we were all sitting at home and saying, what does this mean for business? We've had records around certain silhouettes that were released in the past couple of months that have become our best ever sellers, fastest ever sellers. So I think it shows, back to the trends question, like the power of enduring classics. And in a time like this, when there's uncertainty and stress and, recessionary forces, like people are spending money on the things that have proven value.
StockX has done a nice job with content series. Give everybody a little context to that content.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, thanks for that plug. We have an amazing team, and basically, their remit is to tell stories that are relevant to our, the products that we sell. So it's always contextualized in our world of sneakers, sort of culturally relevant products, and the people, the creators who use those products to express themselves. And so we have this whole network of influencers, musicians, athletes, all kinds of creators that we collaborate with to tell stories. And often the product plays a role in that. Sometimes it doesn't, but we do make an effort to bring it back so that it's related to what we're selling on the platform. And, we use a mix of long form. We have these amazing, almost historical pieces. We actually have someone on our content team who's a PhD. We have 2 PhDs, and one of them is a rap and hip hop historian. And so he can write these amazing long form pieces about, the history of sneakers through hip hop culture. Or we have other pieces that are more SEO oriented, meant to drive results, all the shoes in the last dance, top 10 Jordan shoes. Sure. And then we also have other forms, video, and we've been coming up with these more soundbite written forms lately to just hear what it's like to be a person, a creator in Barcelona, a creator in Toronto. As we grow more globally and the community become, in many ways, COVID has shrunk our world because we're all alone more and at home more, but it's also expanded our world because we're online and we're, the boundaries that previously existed for physical interactions have been raised. So, we're trying to lean into that and introduce more of the cultural marketplace, the global marketplace that is StockX to our community. And so we've come up with a few new conceits during this time. One of them is On the Line With, which is that short format interview with creators around the world. And we're going to keep testing and experimenting. I think that's one thing that is very much part of our DNA as a startup and as a brand that's on the forefront of culture.
Do you believe that every brand should start thinking of themselves more in the production of content as a marketing execution, not just a maker of commercials and ads?
Yes, I think especially so the world that I live in is direct to consumer. I've spent 15 years in direct to consumer startups. And I think when you're building that direct relationship with a consumer, you have to provide context. You have to engage them in a deeper way than just the transactional way. And content plays a huge role to show that you have a voice, you have a point of view, you have authority in the space, that you care about the issues the customer cares about. I think this is part of being a customer-centric brand and business. You talked about that on your last call. I think brands that own their channels and aren't reliant on other sort of distribution have that advantage where they can go really deep with a customer. And that means you have the data, but it also means you have the relationship, you have the connective tissue with all the stories that you tell.
When did you get to Detroit?
I moved here. So I started the job in September and I was commuting, believe this or not, I was commuting from California. So I was flying here on Monday, going home on Thursday. And then my family and I relocated in November. So right in the winter.
So what was your favorite? Let's give Detroit a little love. I know it was only like 8 to 10 weeks before, or 12, 14 weeks before COVID hit. But what was your first observation? I've just really enjoyed the resurrection of such a great city in a lot of ways. Your biggest observation for D-Town?
Yeah, I mean, there is so much heart for Detroit. And one of the things that I think is really remarkable is just like when you come to Detroit, the people who are here are just so loving. And they're like, yes, we welcome you, a new person, into our community, and we want you to survive and thrive here because that's how we're going to thrive. Yeah. So that's one thing. I mean, the people
very
from
welcoming.
Detroit, they're just loving, and they want people to participate in their community, which is awesome. I spent a lot of time in my first 6 weeks of the job staying in hotels right in downtown Detroit and eating in restaurants. So because I didn't have a kitchen to cook in. So sure. I will do a shout out for what has become my favorite restaurant downtown, which is Layla. it's a Lebanese restaurant, and I'm Lebanese, so it has
Very
special
nice.
meaning to me. But it's like amazing food.
So wait, real
amazing-
quick, just for some fun. So you see a Lebanese restaurant in, I come from, Soviet Russian descent. Like there's always that thing. Is this going to be as good as my grandma's thing or my family's thing? Like, are you like a tough critic of Lebanese food, and it like surprised you? So did it surprise you? Did like how did that whole little
Yes, I am a tough critic, and it did surprise me pleasantly. The dish that I always use to judge is a simple one. It's baba ganoush, but it's like, sometimes it's those most simple things where you can tell what's going on. But then it also has like a modern flair. So amazing cocktails, amazing vibe, great service,
awesome.
so you feel like you're in a really cosmopolitan city in like a world-class restaurant. And we have lived in New York and San Francisco, so we love that. But
you're spoiled with food.
We're spoiled. But I will say the food here in Detroit has been really fantastic. So I'm pleasantly surprised and eager to get back out there and start eating my face off again.
Well, thank you for being on. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
We'll talk soon.
Take care.
Thank you.
Bye.
YouTube watcher, what's up? It's Garyvee. First of all, thank you so much. I hope you're doing super well during these times. I also want to ask you, please subscribe, because my commitment and exploration of YouTube is about to explode. Stories, polls, more content, more engagement, more surprise and delight. This is the time to subscribe. I hope you consider it, and I hope I see you soon.